Okay, thank you very much for working on this project about how we can help battling environmental climate change by mixing a percentage of the seaweed into the feed for the cow. And this is a very interesting topic. I read your paper. I enjoy reading it. It's a great paper, both the topic and the content that you put in there. I appreciate that. So I want to say that for other projects, I usually start asking a very controversial topic or question. For your work, I mean, later maybe you can correct me. In fact, I think the work you're doing is very ethical. It's very related to ethics, to the class. But the topic to me, after I look at all the material, is actually not very controversial. It looks like we have all the cards that we need to place in order to help the cow industry to actually move forward. Even the Hawaii is actually producing enough seaweed that for all the US by like a 2030 or 2050, I forgot the year. So it's actually a short time. So what good news about this is that then we should think about, as a computer science major or computer engineering student, how do I be able to use our technology to help this process to get faster? Because as Ermias mentioned in his paper or in his TED talk, that we can actually reduce even in the short term by as high as like 80% if we I think that's very credible based on his result. So I will be thinking about after listening to your talk, in fact, I'm thinking about that after I look at your paper, is that, well, how can we actually help to contribute to this process from our discipline to an animal science effort, so we can actually do a faster. I have some idea because, as you probably know, I'm interested in cow as well. I never know Ermias is working on cow. So I'm interested in cow. I'm looking at the IoT, the Internet of Things, try to monitor the cow. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can do something related to that as well. Okay, so having said that, I'm actually giving the floor to you and let you actually, do you have a PowerPoint slide you're going to go over? Okay, yeah. So now you can share your screen and it's your time.
All right, thank you. Sorry. We'll go to the. All right.
You all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, my name's Julia.
My name's Maria.
My name is Rahul.
And today we're going to be talking about cows and climate change. So first of all, cows are the top producers in gas emissions in the agriculture industry. So that's because 4% of gas emissions are produced by cattle, which is 2 billion pounds of methane per year. However, if we feed cows seaweed, the gas is reduced to 82%, which is 360 million pounds of methane per year after we feed them seaweed, which is a huge difference that can slow down climate change over time. However, we do have questions whether experimenting on cows is ethical or not. And next slide, please. So these are the questions that we have. What are the long and short-term effects that can affect cows, humans, and the environment, and if these decisions are ethical or not? So we're going to go over the background of cows and seaweed. So the head researcher, Ermias Kibra, is the Associate Dean of the College of Agriculture and Environmental Studies at UC Davis, he conducted this experiment of feeding just little amounts of red seaweed in the cow's food, which resulted in reducing methane emissions over 50%. This is because the seaweed inhibits enzymes in the cow's digestive system to reduce amounts of gas in their burps without interfering with their digestion. And the way they collected this data was putting the cows in this air tracking contraction, like the one in this slide here. And what this contraction does, it takes their breath and then gets to analyze the data inside of it. So then over the next 5 months, the results show that the more seaweed that you feed the cows, the less gas is created. The experiment that they did was with 3 groups, one with 0 amounts of seaweed, the other with 30 to 40 grams, and the other up to 60 to 80 grams. And for this small amounts of seaweed put inside their food, it creates so much change. However, it's wondering whether if there's any consequences that happens. So to examine more about seaweed and E. coli, the common bacterial infection, we did some investigations in our topic.
Okay, so in class, we discussed that a corn diet causes E. coli to develop. To find answers about this, we reached out to Professor Ermias Cabrab, and who was the lead researcher for the study. We asked if they have looked into E. coli, the quality of meat, and if seaweed is more beneficial diet than corn or grass. He said they did not look into the gut, so they have not looked into E. coli, and that there was no change in the quality of meat or quality of meat and milk, and it does not provide enough nutrients to support cows. Since Professor Cabrab did not look into E. coli, we looked for outside research that has studied this. We found 2 published studies, one by Canadian research scientist Dr. Tim McAllister and another by Dr. Angela Serdla. The 2 studies were done 2 years apart, and they both used a brown seaweed and tested 2 variations of it, an extract form and a powdered form. They both found that the extract inhibited the growth of E. coli when added to the cow's diet 2 weeks before slaughter. Since there's no studies done on what red seaweed does to the cow's gut, we can take from these studies that there is data to show that there is a seaweed, this brown seaweed, that can eliminate E. coli. We hope more research can be done on red seaweed to see if it holds the same benefits as brown seaweed.
So once we have figured out that what the research is and how the research is done, now we need to share what is our ethical standpoint on this research and what would be the future work to be done. For ethical perspectives, we thought that it is ethical in a utilitarian and deontological perspective. Firstly, because feeding seaweed to cows reduces methane, which is slowing down the climate change if not stopping it. And it also does not affect the cows in any way, and it even keeps the quality of the milk and meat the same. So we thought that it is best for everyone and it is the best thing to do. So that means it's ethical by a utilitarian perspective. And also, it is our responsibility to make the world a better place for coming generations and to help slow down the climate change. So that's why it is our, according to deontological perspective, also, it is ethical that we should do that. Now, as we figured out that it's ethical, now we need to find ways by which we can get the seaweed for feeding the cows. Seaweed is widely available in the oceans, but it is really hard to find it and even harder to harvest it from inside the ocean. So seaweed farming is another idea that can be done. Although there are a lot of green seaweed farms, and like seaweed is generally used in sushi and other food things. Red seaweed is a market that has not been developed too much. However, seaweed does help the environment because it is grown underwater, so it can be grown near coastal regions around the sea, so that it will reduce the use of land resource that we already have less in our country, in our world. Uh, Next, there are another issues like it is not a conventional farming method uh, in farmers, and so the investors and farmers don't want to get into it because uh, it doesn't have a market. It doesn't have a big market, and like getting due to the climate change, also the temperature changes, which changes the production of seaweed and the quality of it, which fluctuates the pricing. So so the investors don't want to invest in this. However, there have been researches done on different species of red seaweed, like one research done by the Institute of Genomic Biology in Illinois, uh, that some species of red seaweed can help inhibit the colon cancer in humans. So, which is a good place to start with. Another thing is that some species of red seaweed is already being used as dyes for some food products. So I think we thought that it has a good market. It can be developed into a bigger market by taking some loss. So I think the investors should invest it in the seaweed industry for the bigger reward, which is the climate change. For conclusion, as we learned in the class about ethics and ethical perspective the whole quarter, we think that it's our responsibility to do what is ethical. And in this case, it is to fight climate change together and make the world a better place for all of us. Cows are only considered as a source for its products like milk and meat, and seaweed is just a healthy food. But together, they can bring us a step closer to a better future for us and our coming generations. The research helps us understand how cows and seaweed can help slow down the climate change, with making not only most people happy, but also not hurting the cows. So we thought that it is the best thing to do for everyone. Thank you, and especially for you, Professor. We were inspired by your idea of having the VR goggles on cows and putting them in seaweed farms. But to our surprise, it was actually happening. It's actually happening all around the world, and as close as Texas. They are using VR goggles to give them a better environment, which makes the quality and quantity of the milk more for the cows. So yeah, we thought that it's a good thing. So yeah, thank you. And any
Is that ethical to have them to
oh,
wear VR such that it will produce more milk?
we didn't research on that, but it's already happening. So
Yeah, I
probably
know.
ethical.
I know there's a lot of agriculture technology will try to push the animal to produce more for us. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I have a question. You might or might not know this. Ernie has mentioned in his TED Talk that we need government support to push these things to the next step. How is that? Any information regarding, say, California state government, or because it needs regulation or needs some kind of support to push the farmer to be able to use some of the red seaweed product, right?
Yeah, so in this sustainability research that we did, we found out that there are investors who already invested in the research done by Professor Ermias. So uh, investors are actually investing in it, but to bring it to the level that it can be done all over the world, we are still not sure if.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should definitely contact him to say thank you, because he helped you guys. He's a wonderful person. That's great. I love to find out more regarding what he think is the most urgent step for maybe we can help as a computer science department, and to see how we can actually push this to its next level. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording here.